Okay. So we had a second entry short at the open here. It ran and filled the gap. However, I didn't take it because, well, we were kind of stacking up here. It was right at the open. And I generally don't like to take trades at the open. So, even though this had a couple of points of confluence, I'm not too sure about this channel. Although at the moment it seems to be holding, but, there's no way to really know for sure right now. Even a tighter channel doesn't really hold it. So that's kind of where we're at on this channel here. We filled the gap. So we're coming back up. The next thing is we could hit the overnight lows here. Maybe work back into yesterday's price action. If we get a second entry short here, I'm willing to take it. However, this turned out to be the better entry. Had I taken that one, I'd probably be done for the day. It would have been anywhere from like a 6 to 10 point trade there. So we're kind of stacking up right here, stalling at the EMA. Could also look at this as a break and then another leg down to make a new low. So if we get a pullback here for a second entry short, we could be looking for a break of this pivot. So we just got a higher low forming right here. I'm going to be looking for a second entry short to form here. That bar didn't close very favorably, so it looks like we're probably going to get a leg, a push down here. I'd like to see this push back up, give a lower high. A lower high would be ideal here for a second entry short, as long as we still have room to the lows here to break and get at least 2 to 3 points there. So we're pushing up right here. We've got a bullish close on that bar. Let's see if we get this lower high here. So we got a pretty strong little push there. This is going to be 2 legs back. I would have liked to have seen this go 1 tick up and then close very bearish. Doesn't quite look like we're going to get that here. That's not a great close. It is a second entry short. However, it closed above EMA. It doesn't look very compelling as a short. It may play out, but I think I'm going to wait and see what happens here. This may try and shoot back up a little higher. The volume chart still, the volume chart is consolidating about 6 points below the EMA. So there's still room for this to kind of come back up into like 57. So there's the failure there. Could see a failed second entry short here, or a failed failure would be nice if we were to get that. If this were to push down, we get a failed failure here, which I think would be a good little trade. I'd like to see this close around 52, but unfortunately it's still holding. Yeah, it's a pretty bullish close there, so we're going to stay out on that. So there's another attempt to the low here. I think this is probably a better chance. It still, however, is closing above the EMA, so you can see this is still trying to push. Okay, so now it looks like we're going to try and get this attempt to run the lows here and maybe test the overnight lows. A higher low here would be nice. So this was a failed failure. However, it wasn't, it's definitely more compelling than the second entry short here, because the fact that these longs didn't really, let's see how many points they got here. 53.25. They got less than 2 points on that. So now we're pushing up again. So we're starting to roll back over here, but now we're getting a lot of strength coming back in. These buyers are still here. So if we get a lower high here, I'd like to see that. I think that would be good for a short. We could potentially play that to break the lows here, 47.50. If we get a decent signal bar here, I like the way it's forming now. If it can close at like 51.50, that would be ideal for this trade. 51 close. Yeah, I would still take it at 51. Okay, so now we got a little pullback there on that bar. 53.50. This needs to close below 51.50. So unfortunately, that's not a very good close on that bar. It's about 50%. So I'm gonna hang out. Wait for something else. You can see this pushed higher now, so we could be doing something like this. We have a small little channel here with a break, so we could be attempting to break this pivot up here at 55. However, now it's starting to look more like a range or some chop here before we make any decision on direction. So yeah, it's getting a little choppy here. I don't really see any clear direction. The EMA is flat, so there's nothing to really look for here as far as bias or direction. We're just kind of chopping here. I think we have to wait till we break either direction. Unfortunately, the idea of going short here has kind of gone away here, because this is not a great, the momentum is down, and I'm expecting us to make a new low, but however, this just looks like chop, so a flat EMA, prices are not rolling over. They should have already rolled over by now. So this just looks kind of like a range, and the likelihood of getting stopped out here is pretty high. So it doesn't seem like there's any real edge here. You know, this lower, you have a first entry long here, second entry long here. So, you know, this is kind of where it gets tricky. You know, a short here would be a failed second entry long. However, is that really a good idea at this point? Probably not. So we're gonna, you know, even if this plays out to the downside, which it probably will if we get a bearish close here. Okay, so yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. We're getting just chopped back and forth here, swinging back and forth from the EMA. It's a tight little 5-point range, basically, or congestion zone. So we've broken the highs here. Now we're coming back into play, which is kind of what we expect. We broke this short-term trend channel here. We broke out and made a new high. Now we're getting a reversal here. So what I would like to see is for this to roll back over, get like a second entry long opportunity, failure, and push down to the new lows. That would probably be the only way I'm getting in this short here. So we'll see what happens. If this continues to hold above the EMA, then it's not looking very good. There's not really any move at the moment. So I think we're gonna pause this for a minute. Okay, so we broke the highs here. You can kind of count this as 2 legs back, meaning this would be a second entry short here. And we've come down. We tried to get the failed second entry short here, or the breakout pullback, so to speak. And we quickly failed there. So we're getting a second entry long setting up here. So if we can fall back down, I think this might give us a reason to go short here. We could look for new lows and potentially, you know, get 3 or 4 points here. On the downside, this could potentially go test the lows here. You can see there's good support there into yesterday's close. So see what happens here. We're getting the second entry long now. It's kind of looking a little back and forth, so we'll see. This is second entry long. It's a pretty big bar there. However, we're not really looking for the second entry long here. We're looking for the failure. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get that. This might actually play out on the long side. Any short right now doesn't really look compelling. The fact that this bar has gone, has made it this far up, just really makes any kind of short not compelling enough. I would actually be looking for kind of a higher low here to go long at that point, but we still have this downtrend that broke. We've kind of just gone sideways here, and we've yet to make a new low. So we just re-broke the high here, so we might have a little bigger trend going. Could be something like this. You can see this kind of lines up. However, that's a pretty, that's not a very good channel. It's kind of flat looking, but we're definitely reversing and gaining ground to the upside here. So not exactly sure where this would go. I mean, the only reasonable explanations we got are back to the overnight highs. We've already filled the gap here, which is this red line, so if we shortened this, then we almost filled that, basically one tick away for the measured move there. Yeah, you can see we consolidated up here at the top, then we had this spike down, and we made the new low here, but we continued to make new lows, so that's why I drew this channel here. It seems to be the only thing that really makes sense, unless I'm just not seeing something else. I've tried many different channels here. That doesn't really look good. Drawing it off that there, it makes it look like we're drawing a channel too big. So I think this is really the only thing that makes sense. And we broke, and now we've just started to go to the upside. So now we're kind of doing something like this. I think this was pretty much kind of you could treat this as kind of a range almost. Second entry long played out, which I'm not too surprised by that because we had a pretty strong signal bar there. And it was a pretty good trap of these shorts, because that bearish bar right there is about as strong as you can get for signal bars. So I mean, it literally closed on its low, and it's a little over 3 points, almost 4 points on that bar alone. So once these guys got trapped here, that was a lot of momentum within that bar that got trapped. So I'm not really surprised that we kind of made an extension. Didn't quite expect it to shoot up 10 bars like this, but yeah, the failure there was definitely, there was a lot of pressure, selling pressure there, so it really kind of took off. We could head back up to these pivots over here to the left, which would be somewhere around this 4170 mark, 4171, 4172, somewhere in there, 70 to 72. That's the next pivot or level of resistance. Then we got this range up here at the tops around 76, and then the overnight highs around 87, 88. So we're just kind of waiting for opportunity here. I don't really have a clear channel just yet, so I'm gonna pause it and we'll come back when there's more to talk about. Alright, so you can see prices continue to rally here for the last about 10 minutes here. We had the second entry short, failed. This gold line is the 9 EMA. It tends to be a more accurate depiction for trends that are kind of parabolic like this, high momentum trends that really just rip. So you can tell that this kind of tends to trail pretty nicely. Prices actually pull back and test it, and that's kind of how you tell the strength on some of these trends, or it helps gauge the strength anyways. You can see now we're starting to get a lot more selling coming in. We're starting to round off a little bit, so we could get a second entry long here eventually, which if we do, I would kind of play that back back above these pivots here at 76 and probably into 80 and maybe 87 up at the highs. But yeah, you can see the 9 EMA here, the gold line, tends to kind of act as an indicator for the amount of strength of this move. So now that we're starting to finally dip below that, that's indicating, that's showing that there's weakness. We're finally starting to get some seller strength here. This is also looking like a range now, so I would draw it something like this. And you see we're getting some pullbacks now. We're finally getting below that 9 EMA line, so we may potentially pull back to the 21 EMA here, the blue line, and if we get a nice second entry here, I think we could look for a break of this pivot here. So this would kind of be like a an upward channel with a break, and now we're looking for a new high. You can't really cleanly identify this channel. It kind of looks like a something like this possibly, which would actually, drawing it that way would actually give you a new high already. So it's a little tricky, but there's really not any way to accurately frame this right now. It's just kind of we got the spike and possibly a channel here. So that would be kind of a spike into a tight little channel. We had the break, and we actually did get a new high by a tick there. So pretty interesting. However, the momentum is up pretty good. I have a volume chart as well over here. It's a little overextended, which means that there's a lot more room for a pullback. Basically, a pullback to 66 here is kind of where the volume chart is at right now. So the EMA on that is around 64.5 right now. So we might get the second entry long here. However, this is where I tend to struggle, because we may get a good looking signal bar here, and it may just fail because we've just overextended so much, and now we're looking for a deeper pullback, so to speak. So this is going to be a little tricky, depending on how this sets up. Right now, we pushed pretty low there, so there's nothing here yet, but there is potential for a second entry long to show up here. I'd kind of like to see this push a little bit lower and then get a nice, or get a nice like second entry long off of here, or push it down below the EMA, get a reversal bar here, trap, and then a higher low to take this back to the tops. So that would be an ideal setup. So if this can push lower, we get the reversal bar, and we trap those shorts trying to trap the longs, then I think that'll give us the momentum that we need to push back above 76 for another leg up here, and this could potentially go into 80s and possibly break the overnight highs, which is the blue line up here. So we'll see what happens. It looks like a second entry long is possibly going to set up here. Again, I'd like to see it push lower, give a second entry long, give a failed second entry long signal bar, and then give a failed failure, a higher low bar here. So that is what I'm looking for. If we get a second entry long here, then I'm okay with taking it, but it needs to close above the EMA. We need to see some strength there, because right now it looks like we're due for a deeper pullback, and this is kind of where a lot of people get tripped up, including myself. I'm not, you really got to focus here and kind of stick to your plan. So if we get a nice strong signal bar here, I'm willing to take it. It will be a second entry long. However, I'd like to see the other scenario play out, because I believe that'll give everything a chance to kind of catch up. And so it looks like we're getting a nice little signal bar here. So I'm in there. We'll see if this fails or not. It's looking pretty iffy. That pullback almost got us there. I think if we push back up, 76 is kind of where we're looking. So we'll see if this goes or not. Right now we're in. You know, risk isn't too bad. It's about 2 points. So if it fails, then you know we tried. It's second entry long. It's not a bad bar. It's actually an engulfing bar that closed above the EMA. So there is strength there. We'll see if we can continue the strength. I would like to see a nice push up into 73s here. I don't really want to see this bar hang around very long. I'd like to see some bullish bars plot after this. So we'll see. We need to, that's not the greatest bar. I really want to see this next bar push up. The fact that we're still hanging around here means that we're struggling. Now we're starting to get into congestion here, which is kind of concerning. So we'll see if this pushes. I would like to see this break these pivots and start to close higher and higher. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. This may fail, and we may get that deeper pullback that I was just talking about earlier. So right now it's looking kind of 50-50, which is not the best. But yeah, the EMA is also getting flat, so this could whip us out. But we'll see what happens. All right, so it got us there. I can't say I'm really that surprised by that. I still think we're going to have an opportunity to move higher here. This is probably going to give us that deeper pullback. But now I'm not really interested in going long until we get back above the EMA. So, we may get a nice little pullback here. And then we may get a reversal. And so I'm kind of looking for that higher low entry above the EMA, maybe like a failed second entry short possibly, to take this back above 76. So we'll see what happens. That was just a 175 7 tick loss on that. So we'll see what happens. We're getting the pullback here. I still think that we need to kind of break and make a new high here. So we'll see what happens. So this is kind of, I said about 66 and a half. But we've kind of hung around here now, so the EMA on the volume chart is basically called up. It's at 66 and a half right now, so it's basically supporting volume. This is that reversal I was just talking about. So if we get a nice little trap here, I would like to go long. We'll have to see what happens though, because this could, well, let's see how these bars form. I'd like to see this form as a reversal bar. Potentially close at like 70 and a half. If this breaks down, then we can still get a nice little higher low attempt here. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to pause it. We're kind of breaking higher here. We haven't really got any pullback yet, so I'm going to wait I'm gonna wait a few minutes here, see what forms, and come back. Okay, so this is the second entry short right here. You just saw it form. The first entry short here. This is the second entry short. I'd like to see this bar come down, bounce off the EMA. That'd be a perfect scenario. If it can bounce off, if it can make a new low here, basically below this pivot, give a nice strong bullish close, then there's still enough room to hop on this and get a couple of points out of it. However, it's pretty high up in this, to the highs here, the high of, the previous high pivot. So I'd like to see this kind of pull back as far as possible without breaking the EMA. So, there's a bullish close. So if it breaks here, then we're likely going to see the break of 76.5 or 76.25, and we're going to get that new high. So the analysis was correct. However, we were just a bit early, and there just wasn't really any opportunity to get long through here, unfortunately. So got burned a little there. Fortunately, that wasn't a big trade, too big of a trade, so we should be able to make that up pretty easily with the winner. However, we're not really getting a great setup here off of, we've came down and tested the EMA, but that bar is just not a signal bar to trade off of. So, if we can tap the low of this bar, we just did there, we got one tick below. If we come back up and close bullish, then I think there's a good opportunity to go long here. And if we can do that, then I think we have at least a few points here to back to the highs. So we'll see what happens at this 74 mark. 71.25, 74 would be about 3 points risk. This looks pretty bearish though, so it doesn't look like we're going to get the bullish close we were looking for. Now this is kind of looking more of like a range almost. It's looking like we could potentially go sideways here for a little bit before we make a move. What I really would have liked to have seen is this pullback to the EMA, gave a nice signal bar, and then went long back above these highs. So unless this signal bar here forms bullish and closes up around 73, I don't feel too compelled to take this. So it's looking like it's going to close just enough to kind of tempt us here, and I just don't feel comfortable trying to go long there. So, well, now we get the long. Let's see if this breaks. It just broke. Let's see if we can get a pullback. See if we get a pullback here. Doesn't look like we're going to quite get it. This is 73.75, so 75.75 would be 2 points here. That'd be the break of that. I'll move it to there. If we can pull back, get long here, I think there's still enough room for us to get above 76. So let's see if we can break this move here. So far, so good. We're in the trade. This is a failed second entry short, so we'll see if we get above here. I might try and trail one contract just in case this takes off. We might try and trail one. If we get above this pivot here, we're probably going to go break even, because that's going to, at that moment, the trade will have played out. The idea as a whole would not have played out, but we would have played out to the upside here. We would have broke that second entry short. So right now this is pulling back, which is not looking good again. So we might, as long as we stay above this EMA, we might be okay. However, that's not a great looking bar there. So hopefully we continue to push here. We don't chop around or stay here too long. We need to make a move to the upside. I'm still looking for the break of this high here. However, this is looking kind of choppy now, and now we're kind of getting into the same situation we were over here, where we enter and then it starts to go sideways. So We might be 0-2 today. We'll just have to see what happens. Lately, I've been struggling, so this is proof of kind of what I've been going through lately. So, we've kind of sized down a little bit, just 2 contracts, but man, it's been kind of tough lately. We'll see if this plays out. We're still bouncing off that EMA. The EMA is still kind of holding. It's not particularly flat yet. It's still got an upward bias to it. So we're kind of, right now we're just kind of in congestion at this point. So we need to see this make a move here. I'm considering pulling my stop up to minimize this, because if this comes down and breaks these 2 pivots, it's likely we're going to break lower here. So let's see. We need to see this break over 75 and a half. Yeah, that 75.50 is where we need to break. We're getting some strength here. Let's see if this can close up around 76. I'd like to see a nice strong push at the end here. So there we go. We just broke that 75.50 mark. I think at this point we're gonna raise that up. We're probably gonna go break even here as soon as it tests the tops. It just tested the top there, so we got filled. Now we're looking for a runner. Typically I would look to get out like one or 2 ticks above this, but we'll see what happens here. This might pull back. I'm just going to trail bar by bar because technically we've got the new high now, so this is due for a reversal, but we'll see what happens here. If this continues to push up, then we might get an extra 5 or 6 ticks out of this. So there we go. So nice little trade there. We're probably going to move back into the overnight highs. It's hard to really tell. Price action has been a little tricky today, so these are the 2 trades that I've taken. These small arrows are just ideas that I marked, potentially good trades that I just didn't take, like this second entry short at the open here. I just don't like trading the open. And we also have a set of sideways, we have a bit of congestion right there, right at the open. I didn't really trust this channel at the time either, because technically we had a break of this short-term trend, and then we had the new low here, so I was thinking this could literally be a coin flip and go either way. And generally when I trade the open, that's kind of how it is. A lot of times I get swung out and then it goes in the direction that I wanted it to. So I think we made the right decision here. Although this is going to work in higher, I'm happy with the points that we got there. This is a PLC, this gray line from a previous day, so I just marked those because sometimes they act as support and resistance. But yeah, we were looking for the break, new high there. That's what we got, and now we're getting the reversal here. So potentially overnight highs, and I think there could be a bigger trend in play as well. It's hard to really tell. This price action is not the cleanest. Potentially something like that in the long run. I don't really like to draw channels that big, but right now that there just really isn't a whole lot to work with besides knowing the price action rules and playing by the rules here. So that's what we got. We're going to break out pullback now. This could reverse. I'm kind of just waiting around at this point. I'm not really interested in anything at the moment because I don't really have a clear structure behind this market. We kind of had the spike in channel here, the failed second entry short, the break to a new high, and now we're reversing here. So we got that nice spike there. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to pause it for now. Alright, I think I'm probably going to call it for today. We may get a second entry long here, but I'm kind of I've kind of been working more on patience and discipline lately, and trying to take the less is more approach lately, because sometimes I get caught in sometimes I'll catch myself kind of wanting to overtrade or take a lot of trades, and it just never really works out for me. So lost one, won one. The winner more than made up for the loss. So we're up a decent amount today. Nothing crazy, but thanks to that runner there. So yeah, we may get the long here, but yeah, I'm expecting price to probably go back up to test the highs. But I'm kind of I've kind of been setting a 2 trade max rule per day here, so we'll mark this trade real quick, see what it plays out. It's a little ways from the EMA. We also have the volume chart is a little overextended again, so we'll put the Discord up there. If any of you guys are interested, just like the video. There's the Discord for anyone that's interested. A lot of us trade, have a background with Pats. Not a lot of us trade particularly by the rule book of Pats. For example, like the 4-tick profit rule, a lot of us are taking 2, 3, 4 points minimums, and a lot of us have kind of adapted our own strategy, but still kind of use Pats as kind of a basis, or kind of like the basic fundamentals of whatever their strategy is. So everyone's familiar with it. Everyone has gone through the course pretty much, and so there's a lot of good people that can help with ideas, and people that may be new or have questions. So if you're interested, just search that up in the Discord. I'll put the link below as well, so you can just click on that in the description. And I might start doing more of these videos, but this one's a little long, so I don't know if this format will be what I do from now on, but we'll have to wait and see. That second entry long worked out, by the way. So until next time.